Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and we have a lot to cover this morning. We're going to start with a few comments. Later on in the program, we're going to continue with Irwin Week, as it is affectionately known. We will have had, as of tomorrow, all three candidates running for Steuben County Legislature in that primary. Yesterday was Ronald Bakari. He joined us. We appreciate that. Today it's Kristen Clemens Westervelt. And then tomorrow, James Kuhl. Also tomorrow on the program, we're going to hear from, I forgot to put my waves up. Also tomorrow on the program, we're going to hear from, of course, it's Friday with Phil. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us on the broadcast tomorrow. Starting with viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. As for the stop-start car mechanism, we talked about this yesterday in the program because Lee Zeldin, former New York gubernatorial candidate and now head of the EPA, tweeted out that everybody hates that start-stop mechanism in newer vehicles and that they're going to fix it. And he said it was put into cars as a kind of climate change participation trophy. And I, in full disclosure, admitted that it is very much a pet peeve of mine. So maybe I focused on a little bit too much yesterday. But as this viewer says, as for the stop-start car mechanism, I don't want a computer starting my car, stopping my car, or driving my car. I want the control. And I always heard that it took more fuel and was actually less efficient to stop and start. Just my 2 cents. Well, thank you. I had always heard that too, that it was less efficient because it's using more gas to start it back up. Wasn't that one of the reasons why they started to put timers and things like that into the red light? But I agree. The whole thing seems fishy to me, and that's why I think Lee Zeldin put it perfectly, that it's basically so people can virtue signal that it's a climate change participation trophy. Another viewer writes in, this is Mark. Good morning, Mark. And he says, good morning, Frank. Ben from Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream was one of the many protesters removed from JFK's health spending cuts hearing. And JFK says, don't take medical advice from him. I know. You put JFK and I meant to fix it. I'm sorry. RFK health spending cuts hearing, and RFK says don't take medical advice from him. I don't think RFK Jr. is faring well in this hearing. That seems to be the case. I saw the headlines yesterday about him saying don't take medical advice from him. I also saw that Ben and Jerry from one of them, was it Ben you said? From Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream was one of the many protesters. You know, that kind of drives me a little crazy, these protesters, because they are obviously setups. You and I aren't just going into a hearing without some type of encouragement by one of your representatives, whether senator, in this case senator, or congressperson. So they knew that these, meaning when I say they, the politicians, the representatives knew that these protests would break out. But yeah, we're going to talk about RFK Jr.'s hearing here in just a little bit. We've got a lot of quick stories to catch up on. We're also going to talk about, obviously, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all of that. That arguably the biggest story of the day. First, this was mentioned on the program yesterday. It may have actually been by Mark. And I had not heard about it, so I didn't have a lot of information about it. And it came across my desk from Business Insider this morning. They're calling it the anti-Cybertruck. I'm not sure why they call it that, but it's Slate. It's an EV, and it's off to a strong start. Slate EV pickup truck has struck a chord. The Michigan-based Slate Auto, backed by Jeff Bezos, says more than 100,000 people have reserved one of its low-frills electric trucks in the 3 weeks since it was unveiled. Not bad for a fledgling company with very little brand awareness. By comparison, Tesla blockbuster Cybertruck launch in 2019 nabbed 250,000 reservations in less than a week. 5 years later, about 50,000 have been delivered. Now, what's so, pardon me, what's so interesting about these, it's very customizable, these slates, but they can be very, very, what's the word I want to look, low maintenance. They start $25,000 for models that don't even include such things as power windows, even a radio, or an entertainment system. If applicable, electric vehicle tax credits could bring the final cost to below $20,000. And deliveries are expected to begin in late 2026, so not that far off. Slate's more traditional, minimalist truck design, specs, and low price some have been calling it the anti-Cybertruck. And other automakers are also betting the car buyers are looking for something more practical and affordable. Yes, because if you see the Tesla truck, boy, it looks like it's right out of a movie, a futuristic movie. It's very, very big, very futuristic. This is, I guess you could call it the opposite of that. So that's just a little more information because I glanced over that message on yesterday's program, and it just happens to be that I learned more this morning. Speaking of Tesla, you could say that karma took the wheel on this, according to the New York Post. The serial Tesla road rage driver who landed back behind bars, this time for allegedly assaulting a teenage driver and her mother in Hawaii last week. Well, things did not go well for him in prison. He was found beaten to a bloody pulp in prison. Nathaniel Radamak, 39 years old, was assaulted by inmates at the correctional facility on Monday around 4:25 p.m. According to the public information officer, Nathaniel Radamak was allegedly assaulted by other inmates in a housing unit at the correctional facility. The hot-headed driver sustained injuries to his face and torso and was taken to the Queens Medical Center for treatment. The photo, which I will not show, you're welcome, shows that he did get assaulted with a badly bruised and bloodied face. Currently, the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation are investigating the incident. Now, this comes after he was arrested back on May the 8th. He lost his temper and allegedly became violent with another motorist. And this is not the first time this has happened. But Radamak, who had been out on parole since August after he served only 10 months of a 5-year prison sentence, was speeding in a gray Tesla in downtown Honolulu when he raced past an 18-year-old driver parking her car. So anyway, she yelled, he yelled. But so he's just a road rager. It's nothing to do with really Tesla. This is not one of those examples of him keying a Tesla or something like that. It just had Tesla in the headline, and I thought it was a good way to piggyback off of the Slate story. So there's an example of kind of karma where harassing and attacking a mother and her daughter, teenage daughter, learning how to drive, and then receiving not such great treatment himself in prison. Okay, also on the, I guess, green front, can you call EV green? I mean, I guess you can, obviously you can, but we're seeing a time where, for whatever reason, the left has turned on electric vehicles, or at least Teslas specifically, outraged at Elon Musk volunteering his time to help make cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington. But this piggybacks off of kind of this whole green energy idea. We talk about solar power. According to an article from Reuters, U.S. energy officials are reassessing the risk posed by Chinese-made devices that play a critical role in renewable energy infrastructure after, listen to this, unexplained communication equipment was found inside some of the panels. Power inverters, which are predominantly produced in China, are used throughout the world to connect solar panels and wind turbines to electricity grids. They're also found in batteries, heat pumps, etc., even electric vehicle chargers. While inverters are built to allow remote access for updates and maintenance, the utility companies that use them typically install firewalls to prevent direct communications back to China. However, Rogue communication devices not listed in product documents have been found in some Chinese solar power inverters by U.S. experts who stripped down equipment hooked up to grids to check for security issues. So now we are told, you know, the solar is such an important avenue in this push for green energy. Now we learn that the Chinese, looking to take advantage of that, not only are they the main supplier of these inverters, they are, at least in these instances, putting communication devices in, and again, not listing it in the product detail, in what can only be seen as nefarious reasons. Over the past, over the past 9 months, undocumented communication devices, including cellular radios, have also been found in some batteries from multiple Chinese suppliers. Reuters was unable to determine how many solar power inverters and batteries they have looked at, but the rogue components provide additional undocumented communication channels that could allow firewalls to be circumvented remotely, with potentially catastrophic consequences. Both declined to be named because they did not have permission to speak to the media, but Mike Rogers, former director of U.S. National Security Agency, said, "We know that China believes there is value in placing at least some elements of our core infrastructure at risk of destruction or disruption. I think the Chinese are in part hoping that the widespread use of inverters limits the options that the West has to deal with the security issue," meaning that they could cut power. We heard about this when it came to hacking into such things that you may not have ever thought about. Maybe even didn't even think that it had computers involved in it, but like certain, even small town, septic or sewer systems, water, city water. Now we're learning there's a possibility they could cut off this energy because of solar. Using the rogue communication devices to skirt firewalls and switch off inverters remotely or change their settings could destabilize power grids. Now imagine what would happen if a power grid went out in a major city, people didn't have something as simple as, air conditioning in the summer, or their cell phone isn't charged. It sounds like little things that can lead to chaos in the streets. It could damage energy infrastructure and trigger widespread blackouts. Imagine that, widespread blackouts. That effectively means there's a built-in way to physically destroy the grid as we depend more and more on this grid. We've talked about it in New York State, where our grid is not even up to the level of these demands that Governor Hochul and Albany are making on us. Now, the two people declined to name the Chinese manufacturer of the inverters and batteries with extra communication devices, nor would they say how many they had found in total. Just keep that in mind. I find that very, very interesting. And a story that should be a much larger story. I did find it, I believe, on Drudge Report, and I saw at one other outlet, but kind of under the radar because it goes against a couple things. Many want to be friends because there's so much money involved with China. We know that. But also because there's been such a push for solar power. So it does not fit the narrative of the media. Now, we've got a lot more. We're going through some stories quickly here. We are going to get to Saudi Arabia. We'll get to the stories that you are mentioning. Look at all these waves coming. Thank you. We'll read some of your comments when we come back. Running just a tad bit late. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Big Fox and Coastal Television bring you 23 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer on WJKP. No Apple Plus subscription, no Fubo subscription, no MLB subscription required. We have the schedule for all of our Mets games on WYDCTV.com. Don't miss May 16th, Mets versus Yankees, and June 2nd, Mets versus Dodgers. Brought to the Twin Tiers by Big Fox.
Hi, this is Till, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Every great performance starts with a great night's sleep. It feeds your day.
How I wonder what you are.
Makes good choices great ones. Because to get the best you, the best thing to get is this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natrol. New Natrol Sleep and Restore.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. A couple of comments from viewers. A Pennsylvania man was charged with trying to kill a neighbor's barking dog with rat poison meatballs. My goodness. I'm a dog owner, and this is just not right. No, absolutely. I'm sure there's going to be, the book will be thrown at that man. Thank you for sending that in. Comment from a different viewer. I sell car batteries at a local retailer. The cars that have the stop-start option require a much more expensive battery. Well, thank you. I was not aware of that. Good to know. Again, I think this is one of those little things that happened. This happened kind of as well in the first Trump term, where you may not have even thought about it, and then someone speaks out against it in his administration. You say, finally. And this is an example where Lee Zeldin said, no one likes this mechanism, so we're going to fix it. And I appreciate that. And it was a kind of a nice, even though, like I said, my car has the stop-start, so it's kind of like losing the battle. But ultimately, if we win the war, that's what matters. Okay, thank you for that information. Here's one to get you started this morning. Providence, Rhode Island. Well, the officials in Providence have accepted a request to fly the Palestinian flag tomorrow at City Hall in the state's capital. City officials emphasize that no American flags are being displaced by the display, adding there have been several other flags raised over the government office in the past. This is a spokesperson who told Fox News, quote, Providence City Hall displays many different flags throughout the year to mark different occasions and honor the many ethnic and cultural backgrounds and traditions that make our city strong. They added that the city also has flown the Dominican flag, Irish flag, Armenian flag, and the Israeli flag in recent months. Like those examples, this idea came to us from the community as part of a request to honor the important role Palestinian Americans play in the fabric of our beautifully diverse city. The flag will be on display during Thursday's city council meeting and then outside City Hall on Friday. Now, someone requested this be flown. In any way, shape, or form, do you think that request was made to, and I quote, honor the important role Palestinian Americans play in the fabric of our beautifully diverse city? Or do you think this has everything to do with what we're seeing on college campuses, that kind of Semitic protests? This is, remember, at those protests, the Palestinian flag very often flown. Now, this is going to be interesting to see the pushback on this. In Providence, the executive branch and city council are two separate branches of government. The Providence City Council, not Mayor Smiley's office, will be raising the Palestinian flag on Friday. A report from Go Local Providence added the Palestinian flag is reportedly becoming more prevalent at City Hall overall. There you go. Just your thoughts on that. this morning. Another update. Can't segue to these things, though we are going to talk about that one. Maybe I have a better segue. I can segue from that because it's worth talking about some updates on college campuses. The Trump administration announced yesterday that it is cutting an additional $450 million in grants to Harvard University after freezing already $2.2 billion just last week. The Joint Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism said in a statement, Harvard University has repeatedly failed to confront the pervasive race discrimination and anti-Semitic harassment plaguing its campus. This is just the latest chapter in Harvard's long-standing policy and practice of discriminating on the basis of race, as recognized by the Supreme Court in Students for Fair Administration v. Harvard, where the court rebuked Harvard for its unlawful race discrimination in admissions. That shameful legacy has continued on as recognized by Harvard's own Presidential Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism and Anti-Israel Bias, which lays bare an appalling reality. Jewish students were subjected to pervasive insults, physical assault, and intimidation with no meaningful response from Harvard's leadership. The task force further called the nation's oldest and richest school a breeding ground for virtue signaling and discrimination. So the Trump administration has cut an additional $450 million in grants to Harvard on top of freezing $2.2 billion last week. Well, now understanding the pushback, maybe not expecting these types of cuts and maybe not expecting the potential of losing their tax-exempt status. Well, they're not backing off. They stand strong with the anti-Semitic protests, the pro-Hamas protests. And Harvard's president will take a 25% pay cut as they battle with Trump. His pay, President Alan Garber, will be slashed 25% for the academic year starting in July. The school did not disclose his salary, though recent predecessors earned about $1 million a year. $1 million a year, and this is how he handles his quote-unquote presidency, which is to allow anti-Semitic protests to grow, the intimidation of Jewish students to grow, the pervasiveness of this in the faculty and staff, the supposed grown-ups in the room, and he was receiving, it is alleged, $1 million a year. And he decided it was a smarter move for Harvard's brand to pick a fight with Trump than to stand with the Jewish community at the Harvard campus. Garber, who was named president last year, previously took a voluntary 25% cut during the COVID-19 pandemic when he served as provost and chief academic officer. So he thinks this is good PR, apparently. So that is him proving that he still wants to fight for the anti-Semitic fight. Okay, we got to take another short break. Quickly. Trump administration is backing a Jewish professor's discrimination case against CUNY schools. They're backing a Jewish professor who claims she was subjected to a hostile work environment fueled by anti-Semitic, Israel-bashing protests at CUNY's Hunter College. CUNY Hunter filed a motion to dismiss the civil rights suit, but the U.S. Department of Justice, headed by, of course, Pam Bondi, intervened in the case, filing a statement of interest, stressing the importance of abiding by the federal civil rights law that bars discrimination and subjecting employees and students in educational institutions to a hostile workplace. CUNY Hunter was not simply relying on the First Amendment to avoid any scrutiny of whether it is liable under Title VI for its failure to prevent disruption that Dr. Garrett contends contributed to a hostile work environment. So there's your updates on that. Also, a little bit on this one. They're fighting for the quote-unquote free speech rights of groups that are breaking the law, of the anti-Semitic groups that are breaking the law, destroying campus property, intimidating Jewish students. But on the other side of the coin, it's actually at USA Today, they asked the question, does Brown respect free speech? Well, apparently not. And if you recall that we'll just talk about it quickly when we come back because I know we got to get to Cutter. But this is an update from that story I brought to you where a student decided he was going to play Elon Musk and he was going to ask people at Brown University, the faculty, staff, hey, name 5 things that you accomplished this week. And let's just say it did not go well for him. We'll give you an update on that when we come back. But we got to take a break. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. We're just getting warmed up. here on Frankly Speaking.
Ever feel like a spectator in your own life with chronic migraine? 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. In a survey, 91% of users wish they'd started sooner. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Botox effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as trouble swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Those with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions like rash, breathing problems, dizziness, neck and injection site pain, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions like ALS, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medicines like botulinum toxins, which may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there. Ask your doctor about Botox today. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
I'm Krister from Piper Insurance, talking about the real-life savings of people you know. This year, we saved Frank and Barb Vasilo of Corning more than $300 on their insurance. We also insure their business, Rabbit Row Yarns. And we saved Todd and Sarah Strong of Painted Post more than $1,600 on their insurance. We'd love to save you money too. As a local independent insurance agency, we'll shop more than 12 insurance companies to find you a great price with good coverage. Piper Insurance. We make insurance easy.
Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app. Your teams, your highlights, your scores. Get more of what you want. To the end zone. Stream your teams live. It's free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your Fox Sports app today.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. That, of course, the Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and I love this. I was kind of laughing when we came back on the air because I just read this comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, first of all, let me say good morning. You're a media genius. You've tapped into the TV audience that has a tendency to talk to the television. What makes you unique is that you talk back. Well played, sir. Well, thank you. I never really thought of it that way. Hardly a media genius, but I guess you're right. I think I did tap into the demographic that likes to talk to their television and definitely yell at their television at times, because I know that I do as well. So I appreciate the comment. That made me laugh. USA Today, saying our country's most esteemed institutions of higher learning, the Ivy League schools, should have figured out how to ensure free speech rights on campus long ago. But clearly they haven't. Now, again, they claim it's a free speech right to intimidate Jewish students, to destroy campus property, to continue these anti-Semitic encampments, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to Brown University student Alex Shee, that's when the First Amendment no longer applies. Earlier this year, Shee decided to look into the university's administrative bloat, giving the high cost of his tuition. On the same side, the Trump administration announced in April its plan to pull more than $500 million in funding from the university over its diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracy. So this author, I think Ingrid Jacks, maybe, said, as a journalist for an independent student newspaper, she put together an interactive organizational chart detailing what various administrators do. In addition, taking a cue from the Trump administration and its DOGE government efficiency efforts, she sent emails in March to administrators asking them basic questions about what their jobs entail. Now, keep in mind, in theory, he is helping to pay their paycheck, right? He is paying his tuition, so he just wants to know why, number one, is tuition so high, and what kind of bang is he getting for his buck? Well, needless to say, when you've lived in an academic bubble your whole life, and you are surrounded by yes people, whether that's fellow faculty members or whether that's a student who will say yes to anything because they're looking for a passing grade, who will agree with anything. So when you've been surrounded by that your whole life, you are not to be challenged. I'm sure you've seen that in your own life with teachers in the past or professors in the past that maybe had that attitude where it's you are not to challenge me. I'm the superior. I'm smarter than everybody else in this room. And we've seen that with kind of the breakdown way back in, I think it was during the first Trump administration, where you had college professors trying to keep media away from these protests. I think at that point it was it Antifa protests? Or, no, I don't think it was that. It might have been the anti-Wall Street protests or whatever. But saying that they don't have a right to film, these type of things. I mean, they're in a bubble. They cannot be challenged. So when Mr. Xi sent that email, needless to say, they were not amused. Brown administrators, listen to this, launched a weeks-long review into his reporting, saying Xi, and I quote, emotionally harmed, end quote, university employees in his email. That's according to the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. So since he said, hey, can you justify your job? Can you please just let me know what you do here and why my tuition is so expensive? Those faculty members, again, living in a bubble, always being told yes, said that they were emotionally harmed. They are not to be challenged, folks. In addition, they said Xi accessed confidential information, even though they haven't specified what that confidential information is. Administrators have charged him with a misrepresentation, though he clearly identified himself and his publication in his email. Now, the pro-free speech FIRE sent Brown a letter demanding that the university drop the misrepresentation charge, among others. And as it says here, the opinion is that NPR has a right to exist. That doesn't mean it has a right to my tax dollars, right? We said that in the past. Well, Brown has a right. Well, I'm getting in the weeds here. Brown did throw out the misrepresentation charge. So he does have this free speech right. And their argument, and that was with NPR, but I got on a tangent there. But rather than drop the investigation altogether, Brown proceeded to accuse Xi of trademark violation for using the name Brown in the paper's name. The Brown Spectre. That was the name of his kind of offshoot newspaper. So they said, well, now we're going to look at every avenue we can to attack this kid just because he had the audacity to call us out over our bloat or our bureaucracy. Xi and other students worked to restart the publication this year after a 10-year hiatus. FIRE wrote yet again to Brown administrators, telling them the trademark accusation misrepresents trademark law and violates the university's free speech pledge. Xi said in a statement, the Brown administration's actions towards me are clear retaliation against me for my reporting. The fact that open inquiry is not welcomed on the front shows that there is something to hide and only heightens the importance that student journalists are allowed freedom of the press to uncover the truth, no matter how unsavory for the administration. As of this writing, disciplinary hearings for Xi and other members of the student paper are ongoing. While Xi is enduring the third degree for sending a polite email, students at other Ivy Leagues are getting away with a whole lot more, and this is what it all boils down to. This is why, going back, like we said with NPR, the universities don't have the right to our taxpayer dollars. If they're going to attack students like Xi, I know I threw NPR in there out of nowhere, but it's the same kind of concept. If they're going to use, if they're going to go after Xi for his free speech rights, but then protect, as Harvard is, Harvard has chosen this hill. This is their battle. The president is taking that 25% cut. So if they're willing to say, no, we stand for anti-Semitism, then they don't deserve your hard-earned money, my hard-earned money. So Columbia, as we saw another violent anti-Israel protest. That's not free speech, by the way, where they took over the main library, intimidating students. Most wore masks, shouting anti-Semitic slogans. The poor students who were in the library just trying to study for upcoming exams were simply out of luck. Pro-Hamas Columbia students took over a building a year ago, yet it wasn't until this March that university officials finally expelled and suspended some of the students. Why was that? Because the Trump administration threatened action. That must happen much more swiftly this time. At Harvard, where anti-Semitic protests have also been rampant, repercussions for violence are also lacking. The Harvard Law Review recently awarded a $65,000 fellowship to graduate student Abraham Barmel, who was charged with assault and battery of a Jewish student on the Harvard Business School campus following the October 7, 2023 terrorist attack on Israel. The Trump administration is getting a lot of flack from the left for pushing against DEI programs and anti-Semitism at universities that take federal funding. Yet, the twisted view of free speech at these Ivy League schools cannot be ignored. That's Ingrid Jacquez. And just to show you a little bit more on this, because you're exactly right, that they are willing to stand for this anti-Semitism on college campuses. They're willing to fight this at all costs. NPR actually had the audacity when we see, and it was even Van Jones, former Obama official, saying that the Democrat Party is marbled with anti-Semitism. NPR, again, showing why they should lose their funding, taxpayer funding, had an investigation that says multiple Trump officials have links to anti-Semitic extremists. Did you ever see this during the uprising of these anti-Semitic protests, of the uprising of anti-Semitism, in the Democrat Party that we've reported on here time and time again? No. Now they have to go through some real twisting into a pretzel to come up with that article, again, proving why their funding should be cut. All right, as we run extremely late, why not one completely unrelated story before we go to Qatar? Democrat Representative Ro Khanna has introduced legislation that would codify Trump's executive order reducing drug prices. She explained that if he can cross the aisle and support Trump's executive order and legislation, each Republican should be willing to cross the aisle and support Khanna's legislation. So he said, today I am introducing legislation to codify President Trump's executive order, ensuring Americans do not pay more than people in other countries for drugs. Will Congress members stand with $16 billion in big pharma money, or with the American people by co-sponsoring the bipartisan legislation? We'll see where that goes. Very interesting. All right, see some great comments coming in. We'll read as many of them as we can. Stay with us. We're just getting started and it's going quickly. So get all your comments, all your waves in before we run out of time. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
When you're on, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This is Summer with Nissan. It's a great time to buy at the Nissan Summer Sales Event, featuring the award-winning Rogue and Pathfinder. Now more affordable. Get the #1 shopping experience according to J.D. Power. Hurry to a Nissan dealer today.
Now get a low $249 per month lease on Rogue, or get a low $339 per month lease on Pathfinder.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Got a couple of comments to read here from viewers. Just getting all my paperwork in order. Frankly, says this viewer, The Corning Painted Post School District administrators should do the right thing and take a 25% salary cut. Ever notice their job and salaries are never part of the contingency budget cuts? Vote no to the budget. Vote yes to Doge the district. And you raised a good point. We've talked about this in the past, and I predicted this before the budget came out, but I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back because it's so easily predictable, but that they would cut when they would say, well, yes, we want a 7.89% increase, but if we just keep it at the cap, we'll have to cut after school activities, arts, music. You know, it's so predictable. This time I thought it was even a little more brazen when they said we're going to have to cut resource officers, meaning the police, you know, that are in the buildings, but just for the elementary school, the most vulnerable population. Boy, that didn't sit well with me. But this is in Corning Painted Post School District. So again, 7.89% increase they're asking for. And yes, the school administrators never can cut. They never cut that pay or let some go. They always have an excuse that it is not, that they can't. I don't know if it's for some union contract or something like that. Maybe we just don't need as many administrators. Maybe some will be aging out and retiring. Maybe don't replace them. I mean, and it would also be kind of nice if they said, you know what, we want 8% this year, but this is our plan. So next year we are keeping it under the cap, or we're going to keep it right at the cap, or whatever. Because they've never shown, at least that I have seen, kind of a commitment, if you will, to not asking for a lot more money every year. This year, though, they went back to the old tactics of purchasing very nice signs, and I'm not suggesting it was a school that purchased them. I have no idea who purchased them. But the whole tug at the heartstrings, vote no, or vote yes, excuse me, is what they say for the kids. Very nice signs. Maybe some of that money could have been donated back to the school by whoever the organization is that bought them to help with what apparently is an overwhelming cost. A comment from a different viewer. Mark writes in, Harvard's president is cutting his salary by 25%. Corning Painted Post School District should do the same and save some taxes. Now, again, my thoughts on this, you've heard me say it before. They went with the 8%, which is very high, with the possibility, maybe even the thoughts in their mind of the likelihood that it will not pass the first time. So when they put it back up for a vote, they'll come back and say, you know, we work day and night, and we're really proud of ourselves. It's only going to be 6.9%. And unfortunately, many of the voters will go, see, we told you to really cut back and tighten your belt. Thank you. So we'll vote yes. It's sadly, because this is no different than the world of politics, it is pretty predictable. So that is my thought as of what will happen. It seems like the first one is always very high. It's the negotiation, right? The art of the deal, really. You shoot as high as you possibly can, and then when it fails, you go just a little bit down, but you act as if, of course, you really, really made a heck of a difference. But that number won't be that much different. Maybe they'll cut a percentage or two, and then it'll pass, and we'll all be frustrated yet again. But that vote is coming up on May 20th, next Tuesday. I've been asked to let you know the polling locations because there is some question there. You can find it at the Corning Painted Post school website. But again, next Tuesday, don't forget to vote. We'll be reminding you, and this is not just in Corning. If you want to comment on Horseheads, I see that they cut back. I see that there was some other schools. If you would love to, I would love to have you weigh in on your school budget, even if you're not Corning Painted Post School District. But this is specifically for Corning Painted Post. One voting location is at the Corning Painted Post High School, and that's for wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, part 6, 7, and 8, City of Corning. Corning Town Hall 1, part, I don't know what that means, and Denmark Hill, Ward 5, part 6, 7, and 8, City of Corning, south of Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks. I'm not going to read all the different. Let me just give you 4 locations, and you can dig into which one seems closest to you. Corning Painted Post High School is one location. Administration Building over in Painted Post on Charles Street. There's one in the Corning Town Hall in South Corning, of course, and then at Irwin Valley School on Beartown Road. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free. If you went to the forum the other night, I'd love to hear from you and your thoughts on that. Okay, the White House announced yesterday that the United States and Qatar have reached an agreement that will generate at least $1.2 trillion in economic exchange. Trump signed the deal in Doha. during the second leg of his Middle East trip this week. Today in Qatar, President Donald J. Trump signed an agreement with Qatar to generate an economic exchange worth at least $1.2 trillion. That is the announcement they made yesterday. Now he ripped into the critics about the Qatar jet. I know we've talked about that all week, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, continued thoughts on that. But he went to Truth Social at around 2:30 a.m. their local time, saying the Boeing 747 is being given to the United States Air Force Department of Defense, not to me. It's a gift from a nation, Qatar, that we have successfully defended for many years. It will be used by our government as a temporary Air Force One until such time as our new Boeings, which are very late on delivery, arrive. Why should our military and therefore our taxpayers be forced to pay hundreds of millions of dollars when they can get it for free from a country that wants to reward us for a job well done? This big savings will be spent instead to make America great again. Only a fool would not accept this gift on behalf of the country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, I mentioned that the other day, but I wanted to catch you back up. Now, even some in the MAGA faithful, as the media calls them, have been critical of this. I would love to hear your thoughts. I thought a viewer had a really good point. I've kind of stolen that point, though giving credit. When I'm telling people, someone had the point on Monday's show, I think, should we give back the Statue of Liberty now? Is that how it works? We're not allowed any gifts as a nation? We're going to talk more about what Trump had to say when we come back. Keep those comments coming in. Great comments this morning. Your thoughts. We're not going to focus too much on the Saudi Arabia trip, but there is a lot of pushback. There's a lot of criticism, so we will be talking about it because it is worth mentioning. We've got a couple New York State issues, specifically about the budget. Kind of a quick update on Cuomo, but we don't want to belabor that. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will be right back.
At Arnett and Cayuga Health, partners of Centralis Health, over 6,000 employees work together to provide support to the communities they serve. Our staff is constantly striving to set a higher standard for quality, personalized care. No matter the obstacle, their focus has always been on bettering the patient experience. Thank you to everyone at Centralis Health for your professionalism, selflessness, and compassion. Happy Healthcare Week.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Every great performance starts with a great night's sleep. It feeds your day.
How I wonder what you are.
Makes good choices great ones. Because to get the best you, the best thing to get is this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natrol. New Natrol Sleep and Restore for your ultimate restorative sleep.
It's the 25th Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th.
Football show breaks down all things NFL. GMFB Overtime.
Check out top highlights, player interviews, special guests, and everything in between. 5 days a week.
GMFB Overtime. It's football for everyone.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. So Trump giving an interview with Hannity yesterday saying that he is honored by the continued Trump derangement syndrome. He said, quote, I think you have a lot of Democrats that they don't know what they are right now. I think they don't know what to do, like men playing in women's sports. They do suffer from Trump derangement syndrome at a high level, and I guess I'm honored by that. He highlighted that many Democrats, their stance on transgender athletes competing in women's sports, he argued the issue is 99-1. They're always saying it's 80-20. A lot of these things are not 80-20. In one way, I don't like talking about it because I don't want to talk them out of it because, you know, it would be harder to beat them if they were normal on things. It shows that they're almost insane. The president also directed criticism towards Chuck Schumer when asked about emerging party voices like Jasmine Crockett and AOC. Trump argued the longtime Democrat is afraid to go against the progressive wing of the party. I think he's afraid. I watch him. He's lost his confidence totally. Chuck Schumer, I've known him so long, and he's in the other party, but I've known the guy so long, he's totally lost his confidence. He also said, I think a lot of Democrats are going to be forced to vote for the bill, meaning the big, beautiful bill. You add this new element that if the bill passes, you're going to get a 50 to 90% reduction in prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals. When you add that in, how does a Democrat not vote? I don't think they can win an election if they don't vote for it. Now, according to Daniel McCarthy at the Spectre, he says President Trump would have made a good sheik. He doesn't drink. He loves developing flashy properties to show off his power and wealth, and he's brutally realistic about the role of oil and other commodities in world politics. He declared a land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement in the Middle East. It's a rosy vision, but not ideological. New Middle East leaders like Prince Mohammed bin Salman prioritize commerce, not chaos, as Trump put it. The president sees that view aligning with his approach to the Abraham Accords. It will take all of Trump's skill and luck to make peace in the Middle East, but he's made a promising start. Others would disagree. Mark Levin, Fox News host, criticized Trump. Some would even argue fumed. Levin was remarkably critical of the commander-in-chief, taking to social media to blast Saudi Arabia for playing a significant role on the 9/11 slaughter of our people. He also condemned Qatar for having protected the leader of the 9/11 attack from the FBI before he was able to launch his war on America that killed our people. I don't want to go through the whole post because it's quite lengthy in typical Mark Levin fashion. But he did say, as for Iran, if they get a nuclear weapon, that's on our generation, and our country will suffer the horrible consequences. These are terrorists. They don't think like us, and they don't love life like us. We must have the guts and wisdom to protect ourselves. But then in a separate post, Levin praised Trump, but not without dinging him for using lines used by the Soros Koch isolationist crowd about neocons and interventionists. He said isolationism or globalism or both. Actually, the president's speech included some of the lines used by the Soros Koch isolationist crowd about neocons and interventionists. But the irony is that it was given in the context of a globalist outreach effort to make economic and military deals with and between Middle East monarchies and dictatorships and the biggest of America's globalist internationalist corporate. We don't know the details, but if they're great deals for we, the people, that's wonderful. I truly believe the president is the best at making great deals. Nonetheless, this looks like globalism wrapped in isolationist language. Now, CNN's Stephen Collinson, we'll hear from him in a moment. Like I said, we're just going to go through some of the Saudi Arabia stuff quick, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When it comes to fun, it's what we do. See the Spinners live. Get tickets now for $20 at Ticketmaster.com and the gift shop. All sales benefit the Southern Tier Veterans Support Group. Tioga Downs Casino Resort. Fun is what we do.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Your water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
When it's to fun, it's what we do. See the Spinners live. Get tickets now for $20 at Ticketmaster.com and the gift shop. All sales benefit the Southern Tier Veterans Support Group. Tioga Downs Casino Resort. Fun.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple of quick comments from viewers as we wrap up hour number one. First up, Frank, I don't like the plane gift. Lest we forget, some in that part of the world used similar planes as weapons on 9/11. Thank you very much. Comment on a completely different topic from a different viewer. It is interesting to note that Horsehead School District always wants to replace diesel buses that have 100,000 miles or more. That number is low for a diesel, and couple that with the fact that you employ a maintenance garage, what is the hurry to buy new ones? Yes, there's always, just like with According to Paid Post, not only asking for a 7.89% increase, then there's also Proposition 2, which is another almost $1 million. So it is interesting, those other props. So thank you for that. Okay, Trump's Middle East tour has more substance than the White House let on, according to Stephen Collinson at CNN, no fan of Trump. There's more to Donald Trump's Middle East trip than billion-dollar contracts, parades of camels, and a storm back home over Qatar's offer to give the president a new Air Force One. A tour narrowly billed by the White House as a chance for Trump to show he's a master dealmaker is jumbling the region's geopolitical jigsaw puzzle. Wherever he goes, Trump brings disruption that can forge possibilities. And he takes risks, for instance, his decision on this trip to lift sanctions on Syria to give a war-ravaged nation a second chance. But the move revives a perennial question about Trump's entire foreign and trade policy. Can he apply himself sufficiently to reach genuine breakthroughs from openings he creates? The White House's obsession with lionizing Trump means his most significant initiatives are often swamped by hype. So a deal for Qatar to buy Boeing jets worth tens of billions of dollars got more attention back home Wednesday than his encounter with Syrian leader Ahmed al-Sharar, the historic first meeting between U.S. and Syrian leaders in 25 years. That could be the signature initiative of Trump's tour. Before he overthrew the murderous dictator Bashar al-Assad, al-Shahir was a rebel leader who pledged allegiance to al-Qaeda and had a $10 million U.S. bounty on his head. Yet Trump sat with him and lifted U.S. sanctions on his civil war-racked country, hoping to give it a chance to unify and rescue civilians facing severe hunger. So almost, I don't say begrudgingly, but cautiously begrudgingly, wondering what this leads to. But then, of course, still having to take a dig, suggesting that it's the people around Trump who want too much credit for Trump all the time that's distracting from what he's actually accomplishing. Now, the Free Press says how Qatar bought America. Did you know that? That Qatar bought America because of this airplane, I guess? I don't need to read this. There's been untold amount of these articles posted on on websites that do not like Trump. So I guess Qatar bought America. Democrats are going to fly a Qatar-a-Lago banner near Trump's Palm Beach home. Wow. Going back to the well, huh? The president announced that Qatar, well, we know all about that. The DNC said the banner is to make crystal clear that the president's allegiance, allegiance belongs to the highest bidder, not the American people, according to the DNC. The banner will fly from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. along South Ocean Boulevard in Palm Beach near the president's home. Now, Hillary Clinton, I was hoping I could get through all this and I can't. All right, we got to wrap up. Well, let me see. Now, one last thing on Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Syria, but we can talk more about it if you want to send in comments. But we're going to tell you what Hillary Clinton had to say about the jet. Then a couple quick things here about New York. Then Trump, some more Trump. We got a lot to cover. Democrats, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here, WYDC TV, Big Fox, hour number 2, mere moments away.
My brother, William Matar, is known for being a good guy. Sweet, caring, a rock. But don't let his calm exterior fool you, because deep within him is a killer instinct. Okay, it's deep within him. Really, really deep. But it's in there, and he uses it to take on big insurance and win. So if you're hurt in a car, call William Matar, my sweet, killer instinct brother. 444-4444.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/BigFoxNews.
Isn't your overall wellness important for a successful and happy life? At Hesselsen's, we continue to be your wellness partner with our new infrared and traditional rock saunas and introducing Hot Springs' new Vigor Cold Plunge Tub. You can try before you buy in Hesselsen's newly renovated showroom. Hesselsen's also has easy financing options with 0% interest up to 5 years. Let's create positive experiences in your wellness together, whether it's a sauna or a hot spring cold plunge. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning, I watch Big Fox.
Catch Twin local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast. Question of the day.
It is hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. We have, I missed a couple comments. We will get to them in the next segment. Don't worry. But I see a couple came in right at the last minute. No, maybe not. Maybe I can get to all of them. Let me see. Yeah, let's get to them right now. This is from a viewer, who gave the school board the 100,000 mileage number for buses? Horseheads wants $1.9 million for that unnecessary purchase. Well, thank you. We're talking about everything this morning, and I really do appreciate that. I want to hear about all the school budgets throughout the land because we've talked a lot about Corning Painted Post, but I know Horseheads, there's been some issues there too. Comment from a different viewer. So, okay, for foreign countries to buy paintings of Biden's son, by Biden, it wasn't a Biden, by Biden, son for millions of dollars, and nobody gets upset, but somebody donates a plane and we're selling out. I'm not saying we should take the plane. We should be able to build our own plane. We should be able to build our own plane. How the issues with Boeing, larger picture, it's really unacceptable. So I'm with you, and that ties in, and Ken, we'll get to yours next, but that ties in exactly with what I was saying with Hillary Clinton. Because Hillary Clinton posted on X, no one gives someone a $400 million jet for free without expecting anything in return. As so many Twitter users astutely put it, cry me a river, Hillary Clinton, said Representative Paul Gosar. Tell that to the mega donors, including Qatar, who gave hundreds of millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation. Didn't seem to bother you then. Jerry Dunleavy said, what did Qatar want from you? Showing a screenshot from a Reuters article in which it was revealed that the Clinton Foundation had confirmed that it accepted a $1 million gift from Qatar when Hillary was Secretary of State. And finally, one other user saying, nobody donates millions to the Clinton Foundation without expecting something in return. Be serious. So yes, to that viewer's point, very similar. You had so many rich people buying amateur artist Hunter Biden's artwork for millions of dollars, and no one in the media batted an eye. Okay, comment from Ken. It has to be so embarrassing for the Democrats and the legacy media watching Trump perform on the world stage after we saw 4 years of Biden fumbling around everywhere. Obviously, that is why their talking point a couple of days ago was that they are looking forward. You're exactly right, Ken. And Chuck Schumer had said that. They asked, well, and now all of a sudden, and you notice how dogged the media is now about Biden's mental health after it no longer matters. Have you noticed that? So now the tough questions are getting asked, and they asked Chuck Schumer, you had said that Biden was sharp as a tack. What do you say about that now with his book out? And he goes, hey, we've got a lot to deal with. We're looking forward. We're looking forward. Now, Chuck Todd went after him, but Chuck Todd is doing everything he can. He's denying that the media had anything to do with this cover-up of Biden's mental health. Anything at all. This Jake Tapper is doing similar. They're just trying to cover their you-know-whats. And there's been great articles over and over again. We brought them up on the program showing how outraged and angry people are at the Jake Tappers and the Chuck Todds of the world who did take part in this scandal and this cover-up to hide Biden's mental decline. So now to be screaming from the rooftops, the same with the people that spoke to the book. They were a part of the cover-up as well. So Jake Tapper is making hay while the sun shines, as they speak, and trying to pretend that he didn't ignore this, and not only not ignore it, that he actually exposed the mental decline, which is an outright lie. So they're rewriting history in this book. That's why I'm not as excited about the book itself as maybe you would be, with some of the salacious details. We are going to give you a couple more updates on that. I think it's worth mentioning, but don't be fooled. If you read the book, I'm sure it's going to be an interesting read, but don't be fooled when they try to blame everybody else but the media, because the media was a central part to this cover-up. And you were mocked and you were ridiculed if you said, I saw a video where he didn't look good. Well, that was a cheap fake. Isn't that what they called it? Or that was doctored in some way by the Trump administration. He's sharp as a tack. He's never been better. That's the reason, like Ken points out, why Chuck Schumer says we're looking forward. He, as Trump said, he doesn't have it anymore. He's lost his confidence. And he doesn't want to go back to that because he knows he was very central to that cover-up. Okay, quickly, because those of you that were mentioning buses, and we have New York State issues. New York schools are considering a 4-year extension for electric bus mandate. New York State's transition to an all-electric school bus fleet has been given an option for a 4-year extension, allowing school districts more time to adopt the mandate. We know that the grid's not there, the technology is not there. She wanted full electric buses, meaning Governor Hochul, by 2035, with $100 million allocated to support the initiative, which is not enough. The interesting thing, $100 million sounds like a lot, but there are 731 public school districts in the state of New York. So if you do the math, that's about $136,000 available per district if it were distributed evenly, which you know it won't be. Thomas Finnerty, assistant superintendent and school business official, said $136,000 is enough for a quarter of a bus or a couple of phase 2 and 3 chargers. That doesn't do much for us. So a 4-year extension being proposed. Oh, also as an update, we talked about that slush fund for Letitia James that was a part of the budget, where it's basically $10 million of taxpayer money to help her defend herself against those charges by the Trump administration that she lied on her mortgage documents. Well, irate state Republicans want to bottle up a sneaky $10 million slush fund that could be used to pay Attorney General Letitia James legal bills as she faces a criminal probe. Not a penny should be spent from the controversial fund that Democrats slipped into New York's 2026 budget. State Senate Republicans urged Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli in a letter obtained by the New York Post. Certain New York officials can tap into the fund to pay for legal expenses, even as part of probes not related to their state employment, a provision widely seen as giving James a path to pay for her legal defense during U.S. Justice Department probes into her alleged fraudulent real estate dealings. Here's the problem, folks. It's one-party rule, so don't get your hopes up. The letter avoids mentioning James by name, but parrots the Democrats' own words from when she launched her ultimately successful civil prosecution of Donald Trump. Quote, as someone once said, no one is above the law, said the letter signed by Senate GOP Minority Leader Robert Orr and 21 other Republican state senators. This proposed use of public money is a gross misuse of taxpayer dollars. It undermines public trust in government and sends a troubling message that elected officials and state employees are entitled to a publicly funded legal defense, even for matters entirely disconnected from their public responsibilities. This is just one of many wastes of our money. $10 million there. You have the campaign funding that we talked about so extensively on this program. The list goes on and on. How am I doing? Yeah, one more New York State issue. Then we are going to talk, we're going to hear from Kristen Clemens Westervelt. She is running for Steuben County Legislature in the District of Irwin. As I've said, tell your friends and neighbors in the town of Irwin to make sure they tune in. Yesterday we had Drenal Bakari. Tomorrow we'll have James Kuhl. Those are the 3 candidates that are running for Steuben County Legislature in the Irwin District. It is a 3-way primary race. Also on tomorrow's program, we'll be talking with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano as well. That's unrelated to that race, but we wanted to get an update on the budget from him and just his thoughts on it, because he and Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski have been so busy in Albany. And we do have Joe Sempolinski on soon. I'll get that information for you. I think it's next Friday. I'll get that information for you soon. I know both Phil and Joe fan favorites. Last New York State issue. It's still Cuomo's race to lose, and time is running out. There you go. Andrew Cuomo's lead in New York City's mayoral race hasn't gone anywhere. He is dominating in the polls for the primary for mayor. If he wins the primary, he is essentially I believe current mayor Adams is on the independent line, I think it is. I don't see much of a chance there for Mr. Adams. So there you go. His to lose, folks. Two quick announcements of events coming up this weekend that I do not want you to miss, okay? And that is, number one, and I said this as I got all my paperwork, as you saw earlier, all into a tizzy. But number one, on Friday, this is an event that if you have not been to before, you are not going to want to miss it. It's so moving, and it's such a touching tribute. It's the 10th Annual Law Enforcement Memorial Service. The Steuben County Sheriff's Office will host the 10th Annual Law Enforcement Memorial Service this Friday from 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. at the Steuben County Sheriff's Office at 7007 Rumsey Street Extension. All are invited. It is a rain or shine event. They honor all peace and police officers who made the ultimate sacrifice to their communities in Steuben, Allegheny, Chemung, Livingston, Ontario, Schuyler, and Yates counties. Sheriff Allard thanks the partners in this ceremony, including the American Legion Riders, Corning American Legion Drill Team, Hammondsport Central School District, Crystal City Pipes and Drums, Assemblyman Sempolinski, Assemblyman Bally, Steuben County Sheriff's Honor Guard, and Steuben County Legislator Chair Kelly Fitzpatrick. So again, that event, do not miss it, is tomorrow from 6 to 7 at the Steuben County Sheriff's Office. Then on Saturday, and I apologize that we didn't get an interview set up, and that's 100% my fault, but Dr. Coleman is holding a Unity in the Community rally. It's an event to honor and thank our corrections officers, to celebrate all the brave men and women who serve as corrections officers in New York and Pennsylvania. The event, sponsored by Elmira Mayor Dan Mandel and Dr. Stephen Coleman, will be this Saturday from 1 till 2 p.m. at Empire Sports and Event Center, downtown Elmira. Now, of course, the event is free and open to the public. Those that will be attending, speakers, New York State Senator Tom O'Mara, Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard, former Chemung County Executive Tom Santulli, Chemung County Legislator Marty Chalk, and Chemung County Legislator Mark Margison. So that, again, is on Saturday from 1 to 2. All right, coming up next, our guest will be joined by Kristen Clemens Westervelt, running for Steuben County Legislature in the town of Irwin. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service, licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
Don't miss MLB season's New York Mets games. Big Fox and Coastal Television bring you 23 New York Mets games for free on WJKP. No extra subscriptions needed. Watch live over the air. Brought to you by Big Fox.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Every great performance starts with a great night's sleep. It feeds your day. Makes good choices great ones. Because to get the best you, the best thing to get is this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natrol. New Natrol Sleep and Restore.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by our friends at Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And joining us in the Hesselson studio this morning, Kristen, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So I've got to do our full disclaimer. Because I am a resident of the town of Irwin and on the Irwin Town Board, there are 3 people running for Steuben County Legislature in the Irwin District, and I'm having each of you on, but all the questions are going to be exactly the same as best as I possibly can, okay? Yes, I feel like I'm starting a heavyweight fight or something, right? Like, right. Touch gloves, begin. But those are the rules that I put forth. Okay, so let's start off with the easy question. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I own B&W Towing.
Okay.
Me and my husband run it. We have 2 boys that work in it. Been a lifetime resident of Steuben County. I used to be an X-ray CT tech at Corning Hospital for 15 years.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, been in the county and contributing for a while now.
So what made you decide that you wanted to run for Steuben County Legislature?
So I see some changes in the county. We have a new county attorney. We have new legislators. I go to almost all the monthly meetings. Okay. Different committees, and I'm seeing change, and I want to be a part of that change.
Would you say that, looking at, if you're lucky enough to be voted into office, do you have goals, or do you have a platform that you're running on?
So I'm very new to politics.
Okay, that's okay.
But I want to spend the first 6-9 months getting to learn what issues on the boards, and tackle what I feel is important. I hope I bring small business to it, and I'd really like to, tackle the sheriff's issues. I think that's very important in our county.
Great, we're going to get to that in just a moment. When you look at when you go to the meetings, what issues do you think that you could potentially face if you're elected?
So I go through the public safety and corrections. So there's law enforcement, 911, fire, in the jails. They're not so much issues, but like passing through like budgets. Sure. That's very interesting to me. The finance committee, being a small business owner, I bring a lot to the table for that.
Of course.
And then my background in the health, I could do a lot with the health board in opiates, and I know we have a strong drive in our county for opiate addiction.
There's been 2 probably the biggest stories in the news about Steuben County. And let's start with the first one, and that is recent flooding. Now, this isn't necessarily directed at Irwin, but because it's Steuben County legislative issue, what are your thoughts on perhaps being prepared for flooding?
I think we need more financial funding. I did sit in the county meeting where FEMA might back out of some funding, but I think we need a huge push for more state and federal funding. For our area, we've gotten hit 2 or 3 times now, and it's been devastating. So I would definitely focus on that.
And the second issue, and arguably the biggest issue, has been the county and the sheriff, Sheriff Allard, and that kind of battle over identification. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I think the county should stand behind the sheriff and any law enforcement. They protect our county. They, it's a huge county. And
yeah.
They run shifts. But I think we definitely need to stand behind law enforcement.
Yeah. Now you had mentioned that you're new to politics.
Yes.
So the petition process, we always joke about on this program because it's in the middle of winter and there's a whole bunch of issues with it, and we don't need to have that conversation necessarily. But how did the petition process go for you?
It went good. So I got out of my wheelhouse. It definitely was a learning experience. I got to meet voters, and I actually got to meet some customers that we've served, and got to hear stories about how we help them. But just getting out there and getting to know the people of the county was very, very enlightening.
What did those people, as you knocked on the door, what did you find to be the biggest issue that was their concerns as they talked with you?
The sheriff. They wanted to make sure that we stand behind law enforcement because they protect their housing, our businesses. That's what was the biggest one.
Now, it's kind of an interesting process because this is a short time frame. You basically just handed in your petitions. It seems like yesterday, but it was a little bit ago. And then, of course, the primary vote coming up in June. Now, if you win the primary, you have all the way till November to campaign. But with this short time frame, what does your campaign look like?
So we have a Facebook page.
Okay.
I've been going out, still meeting people, going to meetings, just getting out there, getting your name out there.
And this question came up kind of inadvertently on yesterday's program. Would you be open to a debate if there is one that is set forth?
Yeah. I absolutely would.
So my next question is how people can help or find out more about your campaign. You mentioned the Facebook post. Is that probably the best way to do that?
The best way to do that, reach out to me on Facebook or, call the office at B&W Towing if you have a certain issue you want me to address.
Okay. And finally, before people head to the voting booth on primary day, what do you say to the voters?
I'm very new to this. I am a blue-collar worker, so I definitely will work for Steuben County people and come out and vote for me on the 24th.
Well, perfect. Thanks so much for being on the program. I hope we can do this again before primary day, okay?
We can do that.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
When it comes to pizza, subs, wings, strombolis, and calzones, nobody does it better than Picnic Pizza. Picnic Pizza has been serving the Twin Tiers for over 40 years. With 2 convenient locations to serve you, Horseheads and Big Flats, you can dine in, carry out, or we'll deliver in a 5-mile radius. We offer everyday in-house specials like a family pack, 1 large pizza, 1 dozen wings, and 1 quart of soda. Having a party? How about a party pack? 1 sheet pizza, 2 dozen wings, and 2 quarts of soda. Picnic Pizza, the best darn pizza in the area.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I want to thank Kristen Clemens Westervelt for being on the program this morning. Again, she's running for Steuben County Legislature in the District of Irwin. That's the 12th district. Yesterday, there's 3 people running for that position in a primary. On the Republican ticket, of course. Yesterday we had on Drenald Bakari. We appreciate both of our guests so far, and we'll appreciate our guest tomorrow, James Cool. He'll be on the program. Right, that's a little bit earlier. Right at 7. We're going to start the second hour, Frankly Speaking, with James, because then when that interview's over, we've got Fridays with Phil, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. So if you have any questions for Phil regarding the New York State budget specifically, please feel free to get those into me. Whether it's today, anytime, the number on the bottom of your screen is 24/7, or during tomorrow's broadcast. Okay, a couple comments from viewers. So how much did Corning cut at the school board building? Don't cut aides, cut paper pushers. And that has been the main argument. Of course, there's always an argument due to contracts and things they can't. Now, I think there's ways that you could. For instance, you look at Harvard. I think someone had an interesting point earlier. Harvard, the president there, taking a 25% pay cut to show, well, in Harvard's case, solidarity with anti-Semitic protests, so not a good thing. But maybe in this case, to show solidarity with the taxpayer. It is always the worst that they threaten to cut. It's always the after-school activities, the certain levels of diplomas. What is that? International Baccalaureate program. And I thought this one was a little rough when it comes to PR. The what do they call the resource officers, the police that are in the schools, but cutting it for the most vulnerable at the elementary school. So that's where we stand, but thank you for your comments and keep them coming in. Another one, Democrats calling anyone else bought and paid for is hilarious. I'm not crazy about the plane idea, but I think there may be way more going on here. It does feel a little bit like that. I appreciate that comment. Look at all that we cover on this program. 3 comments from 3 different viewers and so many different topics. This topic, once again, Hochul is way behind the curve. The Green New Steel was totally exposed as a fraud. There is no reason to convert to electric buses. Thank you. Quickly, one of the big topics, and it's big on CNN because Jake Tapper wrote it, and it is trying to cover the media for their lack of attention to Biden's mental acuity issues. Well, the new book, we've learned more and more. We now know that Biden's inner circle kept the cabinet from him in the final 2 years of his presidency. Now, you have people like Jen Psaki, who worked for Biden, saying, I never noticed it. I never noticed it. They're all running around trying to cover themselves. But many Democrats are very outraged by this because they're saying it was this scandal, this cover-up by the media, this cover-up by his inner circle that led to a Trump presidency. So there is reasons, if you are a Democrat, to be upset with the people now speaking out in this book. Didn't do it during his presidency. We're actually telling you, along with the media telling you, that he was well prepared, sharp as a tack, for a second term. Now, behind the scenes, we learned that there was even talks that if he were to win a second term, they would introduce a wheelchair to take him in a wheelchair, but not until after the election. Again, another part of the major cover-up. According to the book by Jake Tapper, again trying to cover themselves in the media, saying access dropped off considerably in 2024, and I didn't interact much with him, said one cabinet secretary. Yes, the president is making decisions, but if the inner circle is shaping them in such a way, is it really a decision? Are they leading him to something? The cabinet secretary wondered. Now, there's been a lot of things, like I said, the wheelchair, he didn't recognize people like George Clooney, couldn't remember the names of some of his longtime senior staff. The second cabinet secretary said, I don't think he has dementia, but the thing is he's an old man. The president can give you 4 or 6 good hours a day. When he got tired, sloppy isn't the right word, but his guard was down. Another cabinet secretary said it's hard for an advisor to be honest with the principal. If he had asked me, I would have told him, do 1 term and preserve your legacy. Yes, and this is another example of this kind of narrative that Biden always gets things wrong, because really, if he would have stepped out earlier, first of all, I don't think Kamala Harris would have been the candidate. I know a lot of people around Kamala's inner circle are upset that he waited so long, and that's why they lost, not just because she was a bad candidate. I don't think she would have got the nomination if it was a primary. But they are using Biden as a scapegoat to blame why they lost, when wasn't it really his inner circle? Wasn't it really the media that did not cover this? But he could have, if he would have walked away earlier on, they would have said, like Nancy Pelosi was saying, comparing him to George Washington and saying the most consequential president in their lifetime, he no longer has that. The cabinet member said the staff did him wrong. If you were with him every day and you knew this was a problem, why didn't you go to him and say something? They wanted the power. The people behind the scenes wanted to be the de facto presidents. Now, Chuck Todd ripped Chuck Schumer over this cover-up because Schumer had said we're moving on. You know, Casey Hunt asked Schumer about, defending Biden's acuity that whole time and talking about what he had said, and you thought he could get a second term, and he basically gave a political answer saying, Casey, we're looking forward about Medicare cuts, all these type of things. Well, Chuck Todd, who I don't know if he's no longer relevant, or if he is ever was relevant, but if he is relevant any longer, he is among the people that are responsible for this, said Chuck, the Democrat Party and the staff of the White House for concealing Biden's decline. I've got to say, the old Shakespeare line, one doth protest too much. This is Chuck Todd. He is in a tizzy trying to protect the media. The media was around Biden. That's why there's so much outrage about the wire services not allowed on some of this trip with Trump or in the Oval Office, because they always have access. So why did the media not cover this? So they're lying to you yet again, just like they lied to you about Biden's mental health. They are now lying to you about the cover-up that they were very much instrumental in. Todd said the Democrats are unpopular because party leadership let the public down and let this happen. He's as responsible, meaning Chuck Schumer, as anybody else. He was a leader in the party. He could have said something sooner, and he didn't. Now, if you recall, last month, Todd rejected claims that the media failed to cover President Biden's cognitive decline, calling the accusation a right-wing manufactured narrative. This was with an interview with Chris Cillizza. Todd said the media wasn't to blame and instead pointed the finger at Democrat officials. This is full cover-up mode. But Todd lashed out to those who spoke to the authors, saying, I find everybody now talking to these authors, get out of here, go home, you're a part of the problem. Now you tell us? Well, Chuck Todd, if you recall, and he doesn't want you to recall, he said at the time after the debate and the push got really strong to oust Biden, he was bragging, Chuck Todd was bragging, I knew 2 years ago, a cabinet member came up to me and said that he wasn't doing good. Well, why didn't you tell us that 2 years ago? So now he's going in full cover-up mode, just like Jake Tapper is. Now we learn that this book, because again, the media needs to protect themselves, Hollywood, all the left need to protect themselves in this. This could be made into a movie. With the release of the book set for May 20th, Creative Artists Agency and William Morris Endeavor, representing Tapper and Thompson respectively, had begun quietly circulating the manuscript to select producers. But while the talent agencies angle to sell the screen rights, the book's explosive claims and the timing of its release are drawing fierce criticism against the authors and other journalists for failing to aggressively cover the evident signs of Biden's deterioration. And I would add that if you look at Jake Tapper, he was actually very smug, arrogant when someone tried to present the fact that Biden had cognitive decline. He was defending Biden at all costs because that is the media's job, right? To protect the left and try to do everything they can to bring down a sitting Republican president. We've had that conversation before. But I don't want to go through all the interviews and all the things that we've learned so far. Because I think at this point, what it is it's Jake Tapper being a hypocrite, and Chuck Todd, even though he didn't write the book. Jake Tapper covered Biden's you-know-what the entire time and is now running to the other side and throwing his reporter hat on, one critic wrote. Tapper smeared and attacked people who brought up Biden's decline, including Democrats. Others said these media figures are tying themselves into knots to shield Biden at the time from scrutiny. It's just patently insulting that Jake Tapper is trying to rewrite history while lining his own pockets in the process. Okay, some other Democrat updates. Do we have time? Yeah, let's look at some of the Democrats running for president is what it looks like. Governor Tim Walz, you may remember that name, ran on the ticket with Kamala Harris. He and other Democrat leaders are fanning the flames of speculation that President Trump is planning to pardon Derek Chauvin, the cop convicted of killing George Floyd, despite the president previously saying he hasn't heard of any efforts to grant a reprieve. Sources close to the Department of Justice told the Post that they had also heard nothing about a Chauvin pardon. That didn't stop Walz from weighing in on the online rumors. He told reporters this week that the Trump administration hasn't signaled granting clemency to Chauvin, but argued with this presidency, it seems like that might be something they would do. Wow. So granted, they're denying that it's going to happen, but it seems like something they could do. So I can fan the flames of this hatred. I can try to kind of stoke this violence and anger. If Donald Trump exercises his constitutional right to do so, whether I agree and I strongly disagree with him, if he issues the pardon, we will simply transfer Derek Chauvin to serve out his 22 and a half years in prison in Minnesota, Walz said. Now we know he received during those protests, Walz received a lot of criticism for watching his city burn. Another name being mentioned for 2028, Gavin Newsom. He's trying to present himself as more conservative. Well, Gavin Newsom calls for walking back free health care for eligible undocumented immigrants. I wonder why that would be. Gavin Newsom revised budget proposals would change his signature policy to provide free health care coverage to all low-income, undocumented immigrants as costs exceed expectations and the state anticipates challenging economic times ahead. Newsom's office said the governor's spending plan, which will be released, was released late yesterday, calls for requiring all undocumented adults to pay $100 monthly premiums to receive Medi-Cal coverage and for blocking all new adult applicants to the program as of January 1st. Maybe seeing the failure written on the wall. Another potential candidate, Pete Buttigieg, is eyeing a presidential run and says maybe, quote, maybe Biden hurt Democrats. Because remember, he was a part of the Biden administration. He said Biden maybe hurt Democrats and that with the benefit of hindsight, I think most people would agree that that's the case. What a political answer to a weak one at that. Buttigieg, which is Biden's former transportation secretary, also tried to turn the page Tuesday night as he makes move towards another presidential run in 2028, saying his party is not in position to wallow in hindsight, and used a packed town hall to warn against counting on backlash to Trump in future elections. There's this theory out there that if we just kind of hang back, don't do much, then the people in charge today will screw it up, and then they'll get blamed for it, and then we'll win. I disagree. One other Democrat, and this kind of jumps ahead because I'm not sure if we'll get a chance to talk about all the immigration issues that I wanted to. But Eric Swalwell, he is very awkward. Have you ever seen him, like when he's trying to do that gotcha moment at a hearing? And it was Ben Shapiro that just destroyed him embarrassingly. Like, I mean, I think even Swalwell, you could see it on his face that he wasn't expecting the pushback and he wasn't expecting the kind of the clever retort. Well, Democrat California Representative Eric Swalwell warned Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem that he has a, we'll say, baloney detector during a heated exchange about a photo of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That's that El Salvador citizen who's been kind of quiet on that lately. Swalwell was grilling Noem about a photo of Abrego Garcia's hand that shows alleged MS-13 tattoos during a Homeland Security budget hearing yesterday. Swalwell is saying, I want you to have credibility and I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not? Referring to the letters MS and 1 and 3 above the tattoos were edited into the photo. Noem tried to respond, saying that the deportation of Abrego Garcia was based off of an investigation, not a photo, but of course was, in typical fashion, interrupted by Eric Swalwell. He said, Madam Secretary, I have a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a baloney detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not? Noem replied that it was unbelievable that the lawmaker's focus was on a photo and not the importance of U.S. national security, before saying she had no knowledge of the photo in question. And this has been the focus of this for some reason. Noem said, Abrego Garcia, this is what she said to Eric Swalwell, Abrego Garcia is a known terrorist and a member of MS-13, a wife beater and a human trafficker that should never have been in this country to begin with. But again, that's what Eric Swalwell and others in the Democrat Party, that is the person that they've hitched their wagon to. That is who they support, and want you to know that and are not afraid to hide it. We got to take a break. Keep those comments coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
There are days I feel stuck in my head. Even on an antidepressant, lingering depression symptoms can make it hard to break through. I wanted more from my antidepressant. I asked about Vraylar. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant significantly reduces overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone.
Vraylar isn't approved for elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis due to increased risk of death or stroke. Report changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts to your doctor. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death. Weight gain and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness and feeling like you need to move, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common. Side effects may not appear for weeks.
Vraylar, breaking through to relief. Ask about Vraylar.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. We are locally owned and insured and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. John's Tree Service, your source for all your tree needs, where customer satisfaction is our guarantee. Give us a call today at 607-377-6513.
The Twin Tiers' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Interesting to know. How long is the batteries in the electric buses warranted for? In cars, it's 100,000 miles. That's okay because we could just throw them out anyway after 100,000 miles, because that's in reference to getting rid of the buses at 100,000 miles that were diesel. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Don't underestimate the paper pushers. In many cases, they are the glue that holds an organization together and actually do their job. I think that was more in reference to administration, meaning they're always in the school budgets try to cut the aides, the teachers, the things like that, and not the administration. But I appreciate your comment. Comment from a different viewer. From Mark, the Supreme Court hears arguments on birthright citizenship today. Yes, this is going to be a very interesting case. I believe having babies to stay here by illegals is not right and needs to be addressed. Thank you. And finally, I'm curious if any viewers, or yours truly, meaning me, have noticed the talking heads on the main networks we watch fail to mention, and please correct me if they have, anything about the extra $4 trillion in the big beautiful bill that is bothersome to me. I love that DOGE is what they're accomplishing, and this, in my opinion, is a bad look as a supporter of our president. We don't even talk in billions anymore, let alone millions. The spending is out of control, and we are supposed to be reining it in, aren't we? Well, you raise a good point. I don't know about the mainstream media in general, but the New York Post editorial board has a piece this morning saying, as the big, beautiful bill moves through Congress, one legitimate concern is the future course of federal borrowing. Except that Washington's standard ways of looking at taxation and spending do more to confuse than clarify the key issues. Confusion that hides the truth that Republicans probably aren't cutting Uncle Sam's outlays as much as they should. Yes, you'll hear endless wailing about the bill's savage spending cuts in order to pay for tax cuts for the rich, even as it's supposed to accelerate Uncle Sam's borrowing, but claims rely exclusively on how all this gets measured. For starters, most of the cost of the bill's tax cuts, as set this week by the House Ways and Means Committee, is for simply avoiding economic crushing tax hikes. That is, the measure extends the 2017 Trump tax cuts. The truly new tax cuts here are the ones Trump campaigned on. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay, and so on. None of it is a tax cut for the rich. Meanwhile, the changes to the spending under the big, beautiful bill aren't cuts as normal people would count them. Consider, as things stand, the Congressional Budget Office projects that over the next decade, Uncle Sam will spend $89.3 trillion. With the hated cuts, that figure drops to $88.1 trillion. In yearly terms, that's only a 40% increase over the gigantic $7 trillion 2024 outlay instead of a 50% rise. I know it's wonky. That is, the feds will be on track to spend way more than they did last year, just not quite as much more. Democrats' rhetoric paints this as a yielding to Mad Max wasteland, plunging America into a fiery, brutal, all against all competition over resources and services, stretched to the utmost breaking point. Vision straight out of Revelations. Even as the real danger, a hair more than $36 trillion in debt and soaring, goes ignored. All because vast spending hikes are baked into the budget baseline, and the Republicans are barely skimming off the top of that growth, partly because so much of the media and even the experts accept all the weeping and wailing as facts. The U.S. government needs to slow the growth in spending dramatically to lighten its debt burden. If the GOP doesn't do that, but the Democrat agenda would only make things worse. And all the crying comes from politicians more worried about their pork barrels than the fiscal state of the nation. Now, also, and we'll now jump into this, the recently released House Energy and Commerce Committee draft proposals for Medicaid reform avoid the classic Republican mistake of appearing to care more about saving money than saving lives, says Henry Olson at the Washington Examiner. The classic GOP method for reforming entitlements has always been politically unpopular because Republicans don't make clear who will bear the brunt of the reduced spending. The House plan makes targeted changes that are politically defensible, including requiring work-age, able-bodied Medicaid recipients without dependents to work, go to school, or engage in community service for at least 80 hours a month. This is a far more popular approach, as Americans want the government to be generous to those who need it, but to cut off those who don't. Well, these hearings must be getting very exciting, and we're going to be fair here because it's both sides of the aisle. Footage of Representative Blake Moore, a Republican from Utah, Debbie Dingell, Democrat from Michigan, and Jan Sarkowski, a Democrat from Illinois, found sleeping after burning the midnight oil their footage falling asleep while doing their committee work took the internet by storm. During the wee morning hours, just shy of 5 a.m., Moore, who's 45, vice chair of the House Republican Conference, was seen slumbering during the House Ways and Means Committee markup of the tax component of Trump's marquee agenda bill. This was all captured on C-SPAN, the slouching, the falling asleep. His friend must be Representative Michelle Fischbach, nudging him to wake, prompting him to laugh. Boy, Debbie Dingell was asleep. And trying to save face when the video was released, saying, been out for 31 hours straight, fighting Republicans trying to gut Medicaid. Close my eyes to think about an America where everyone has access to quality, affordable health care, trying to save face while falling asleep. Anyway, goes to show you how hard they're all working. Now, there is a potential that the big, beautiful bill could fail to get passed. The Republicans are wrestling with that possibility. 1 week away from a possible House floor vote, the GOP's massive tax and spending bill is facing opposition from enough lawmakers to defeat it and criticism from senators eager to rewrite it. To avoid an implosion, House Speaker Mike Johnson needs near unanimous support from his members for legislation touching everything from tax cuts to the debt ceiling to border security to health care. He doesn't have it yet, and it's not clear that will happen if he can even get it. Yes, there's been a lot of discussion on this. Even if you look at New York, many New York representatives could stall this bill because they don't believe there's enough. There's not enough property owner write-offs that SALT, known as SALT. It's an issue of double taxation and fairness, said U.S. Representative Mike Lawler, who's also thinking about running for governor. Given our tight, frog in my throat. Given our tight margin, we have a voice in the process, and we're going to use it. So it could actually be some New York GOP members. Also have Nicole Maltakis and I believe Nick LaLota. I'm not sure. I know that we haven't heard this concern from Langworthy or I don't believe Stefanik. Okay, keep those comments coming in. We're running a tad bit late. This show's going quickly. When we come back, we're going to talk about RFK Jr. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Do you want a new bathroom but don't think it's in your budget? Bath Planet is now offering special financing with no payments or interest for an entire year. Sit back, relax, and we will bring the showroom to you. Our certified design team will show you hundreds of color and pattern options and work with you to build your dream bathroom with a price good for an entire year. Go with the company that people trust. Bath Planet, 2 locations serving the entirety of the Twin Tiers. Call today.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Now, yesterday, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and we've had some criticism on this, argued that Americans shouldn't be taking medical cues from him. The Health and Human Services Secretary made this stunning statement during a House Appropriations Committee hearing after Representative Mark Pocan, Democrat from Wisconsin, asked if you had a child, would you vaccinate the child for measles? Kennedy Jr., who had previously expressed regret that he vaccinated his children, was hesitant to respond. For measles? Probably for measles, he said, before claiming that his opinions about vaccines are irrelevant. I don't want to seem like I'm being evasive, he said, but I don't think people should be taking advice, medical advice from me. For me, to answer that question directly, it will seem like I'm giving advice to other people, and I don't want to be doing that, he said. HHS, or as you know, RFK Jr., says he's ordered a complete review of a chemical abortion bill amid reports that the drug isn't as safe as advertised. It's alarming, he said. He found that nearly 11% of women who use the popular abortion pill experienced a serious adverse event. I've asked Marty Makary, who is the director of FDA, to do a complete review and report back. Now, there was a lot of protests at this. We'll get to that in a moment. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. got into a heated debate with Senator Patty Murray from Washington during a hearing on Capitol Hill. Kennedy told Murray he wanted to do everything in his power to help her constituent, telling the senator repeatedly to contact his office to go over the individual's case. But his answers were not adequate for the senator because all of these hearings, they just want to make a name for themselves. They want to do gotcha, leading Kennedy to eventually question whether the Washington State Democrat actually cared about her constituent, Natalie, because she was talking about Natalie, her constituent, who there's been a delay in critical cancer care, allegedly. This is what Kennedy said. I can tell you that now, Senator Murray. What I can tell you is that if you contact my office tomorrow, I'll look specifically into that. However, that answer from Kennedy was not acceptable, according to the senator. I want answers. Kennedy said, wouldn't you rather get her into that clinical trial as fast as you can? She said, absolutely. All right, so if you contact my office tomorrow, this is, Natalie is sitting there waiting for treatment. You're here to, when he got cut off, Kennedy said, I'm offering to help here, but you don't care. You don't care about Natalie. Noting that during the hearing, he wants to do everything in his power to try to get Natalie into the clinical trial quicker. Yeah, he was upset. Now, of course, there were the disruptions by screaming protesters. Keep in mind, whoever allowed those protesters to have a seat in that hearing knew that these protests were going to happen. It's not as if this is an open town hall where anybody can attend, right? So some senator had given these people tickets to this event, knowing full well that they would protest. One of the people being Ben and Jerry's co-founder, who was arrested protesting, shouting, RFK kills people. Never thought you'd see so many Democrats hate a Kennedy, did you? All right, get your last second comments in so I can read them before we wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, because we'll be right back after this.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
cameras everywhere. You can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Catch Twins local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tier.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. A couple comments here. Rick writes in, boy, oh boy, did Donald blow some kisses towards Cutter's Prez or what? Reminds me of a Trump cabinet meeting with all the you-know-what kissing. Too bad Donald and his golf clubs have to ride around on a 40-year-old plane. I feel real bad that he feels small riding around in Air Force One. It tears me up. And hey, while we're over in the Middle East, let's drop all of the sanctions against Syria and their new ex-terrorist president. Sad thing is, all these people are eating Trump's lunch. He actually thinks this cast of characters are his buds. That's Rick. Comment from a different viewer. We would be fired for sleeping on the job. I guess the government is okay with it, but I'm not. We pay them. And that's in reference to the at least 3 representatives that were caught on C-SPAN tapes falling asleep during those committee hearings. Not a good look. Who was it that tried to save face, tried to suggest that they were tired from fighting for Medicaid or something like that? Not a good look, and I would agree with you. Not a wise use of our taxpayer money. Okay. And it does, I think you'll get some pushback. Those videos will be used in re-election campaigns. Trump's border czar, the superstar Tom Homan, was asked by Fox News. The AOC says that she has yet to hear from him or the DOJ if she is under investigation. Homan said to check with the department itself and then said, I wish she'd do her job. She's a legislator, right? Why doesn't she pass some legislation and actually improve this country like President Donald Trump is already doing? I'm doing my job. The border is secure. We arrested 3 times more criminals than former President Joe Biden did. We're doing our job. She should try doing hers. Now, on the immigration front, before we head out the door, the TDA gang, Tren de Arrugas, Little Devil's poster child was busted after allegedly attacking a disabled teen. He was trying to rob a 16-year-old autistic boy on Staten Island. The pint-sized Venezuelan vandal, who you may have seen, has become kind of representative of these young gang members. They're being recruited so young because of our, and many other states, lackluster laws when in regards to going after juveniles. Here in New York State, raise the age. We've talked about it extensively. He has at least a dozen busts on his rap sheet at the age of 15. He is believed to be part of the Little Devil's crew of young migrant gang members terrorizing the Big Apple because, again, they know there will be no punishment. So the older gang members have them do so much dirty work. Their notorious leader is now charged with second-degree robbery after cops nabbed him in a May 5th attack at the Staten Island Mall. He's got pictures of himself online, again, at 15 years old with guns in his hands. But because of the age law, no real chance of getting in any type of serious trouble. Speaking of that, but this in Colorado, illegal migrant, 15 years old, gets just probation and must go to school after killing a Colorado rehab worker who was just 24 years old in a high-speed crash. So a slap on the wrist. Finally, Colorado murder rate dived down. It is plummeting after ICE deports Tren de Arruga gang members. So the numbers are looking better for the Colorado murder rate after those deportations. We are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everyone who joined us this morning. Thank you to Kristen Clemens Westervelt for being on our program. She's running for Steuben County Legislature in the District of Berwyn. We had her opponent on, Drenald Bakari, yesterday. And we'll have the incumbent, actually, the third person running in that Republican primary, James Kuhl, on tomorrow's program. We'll also have Assemblyman Phil Palmisano because it's Fridays with Phil. So make sure you tune in tomorrow and every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early. Look forward to it already. Have a great day.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.